How's it going, everybody? Chris Onorato here, Onorato and Miller live on a Wednesday night from News Channel 13. We're pulling an all-nighter, like the college days. Not afraid of not getting any sleep. If you're joining us on TV over the weekend on my 4 News Channel 13, we live stream every single week to News Channel 13's Facebook, YouTube, and X, or Twitter, whatever you prefer. Be sure to find us on Thursday nights, usually at 6:30, but a Wednesday edition here. The NFL schedule is being released. We have a little bit of a tasting. We'll give you more of it. Will come out by the end of the night. Tom Brady now regrets some of the roast. We'll get into that. LeBron James sitting courtside in Cleveland. Was he sending a message to both the Lakers and the Cavaliers during a playoff game with his wife courtside in Cleveland, or was he just home for a visit? How about the Knicks on the verge of the Eastern Conference Finals? A Knicks-Celtics series would be awesome with a trip to the NBA Finals. NFL on the brain. The schedule release, Christmas Day games, Giants playing on Thanksgiving, Giants on Hard Knocks, and a couple of really good guests here on Onorato and Miller this week. Anna Gold, who is a monster on the softball field for Duke, a Ballston Spa grad, leading the Blue Devils now into the NCAA regionals, hosting this coming weekend as well. And Brendan Glasheen, who calls play-by-play for just about every sport on the planet, but specifically was in the building for Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut on Tuesday night, the Fever and the Sun. And Brendan will give us his insights to the National Lacrosse League finals involving the Albany Firewolves, a team he called games for all season long. We are jam-packed, ready to go. Here we go.
This is Onorato and Miller, sponsored by Alpen House.
Row mission this week. You're stuck with me. Ash with the week off. Let's dive right into it here. Live from News Channel 13 on this Wednesday night. Our guest coming up in about 12 minutes and about 40 minutes. All right, here we go. NFL schedule release. Now, we've known this one for a little bit, and I'll take it. The defending Super Bowl champs always gets that home opener on a Thursday night on NBC and News Channel 13. The Ravens will go to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. Great one. Rematch to the AFC Championship game. Love it. The NFL always figures it out. And they're not, look, they do a big schedule release, but they're so strategic and so smart as a league, allowing the networks, their network partners, to release feature games along the way. So this has been coming out in, trickles since Monday. And this was the first one we found out about. We already knew certain teams were playing, like Green Bay and Philadelphia were going to play that Friday night in Brazil. So you get Ravens, Chiefs Thursday, Packers, Eagles Friday, college football Saturday, NFL Sunday, Monday. And speaking of Monday, the first Monday night game of the year, Jets, Niners. Perfect. Aaron Rodgers' first game back since he got injured on a Monday night against Buffalo. And not only that, but it's a little bit of a homecoming for Rodgers as well, going back to the Bay Area to take on the NFC defending champs in the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Cowboys-Browns, we know this is Tom Brady's Fox debut. We'll get to Brady and the roast here and what he regrets about it in a little bit. But this will be a fun one. Cowboys, obviously always that kind of prime time game, the 4:25 or a night game. You never, so when do you ever see the Cowboys play a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday? Never. They are in prime time. That means late afternoon or night, and they get Brady in the booth for the first time ever on the call in Cleveland. So right off the bat, boom, 3 games, right, that we're all going to be absolutely locked into because, 1, the storylines, 2, it's football. We're watching. Tough road to start for the Chiefs, but maybe a beneficial road here if you're Kansas City. getting the Ravens and Bengals to open the season, and an opportunity to get a leg up right away in terms of that head-to-head matchup when it comes down to it for playoff seeding and home field advantage eventually. So interesting start there. You're the defending Super Bowl champs. League hasn't done you too many favors here, right? Giving you any soft ones right off the bat, but you finish first, and guess what happens? You play a first-place schedule. That's the way it always goes. The international games, already mentioned Green Bay and Philadelphia in Brazil. Here are the London and the one Germany game. Jets-Vikings. Jags play 2 in London. Chicago, New England. And then the Giants will go to Germany to take on the Panthers. So there you go. Jets, Giants fans, you're both going to play an international game. And the London games, I believe all 4 actually, go boom, 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 boom. Beginning of October, beginning of November or end of October. You're going to get 4 games in a row where we get 9:30 kickoffs on Sunday. Settle in. Those days are great. Absolutely love it. Christmas Day, Netflix. The groans grow louder. By the way, Peacock is adding an NFL game as well. The streaming is not stopping anytime soon. If you don't have the streaming services, you're going to have to get them, or you're going to miss football, or borrow them, steal them from a family member or a friend. But Netflix is going to show 2 Christmas Day games this year, and then a game in 25 and 26. So we get Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans. You'd rather be with family or football? I'll take the football. So if you don't have a Netflix account, get one. Netflix makes it more difficult than any other streaming service to share accounts, passwords, whatever. We have our own, I know, and that wasn't always the case, but we were kind of forced into it. And that's okay. That's okay. Thanksgiving Day, Giants, Cowboys. They played in 2022. Giants lost, I think, 28-20, something like that on Thanksgiving Day. We had an opportunity on this show to talk to Jerry Jones before that game happened, actually. So the Giants are back on Thanksgiving Day, and of course, they will play at Dallas, which is pretty cool. Okay, good. Now, this is like Mark's like, I'm out. Okay. Mark, I don't disagree with the entire sentiment here, right? But this is the way it's going. And so say that I'm just kind of crumbling to it. I'm okay with that. I want to watch the games. I mean, we already have the streaming service, so okay, it's there, and I've got Netflix, and I watch the games. But I mean, you know how many people are signing up for Prime and Peacock and Netflix and Apple just to get access to these games? Like, it's just the way we're going. I'm not saying it's ideal, because we need a little bit of a bundle of some sort to just make this, 1, streamlined, 2, affordable. Like, I get it, man. I get it. But this is where we are. All right, let's take a quick break here on Onorato and Miller. We're back in a minute. The Giants on Hard Knocks, but not exactly maybe the way you'd think.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bev's, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just going to have that wow component when you come in, like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always going to get the same experience when you shop at Bev's. At the end of the day, if you walk in these stores, you're going to see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
It's always a good time there. Doesn't matter where. It's always a good time there.
Play to win a 2024 Chevy Camaro convertible through June 29th. Celebrate 20 years of good times at Saratoga Casino Hotel.
It's always a good time.
Learn more at SaratogaCasino.com.
Have to try. It's always a good time.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alphen House. And now, Dirty, Difficult, and Done. Sponsored by Performance Industrial.
Shout out to Karen, Bill Miller, Sean Wilcoxon, and by the way, the Performance Industrial family, where there's never a job that's too dirty or too difficult for them to get it done, is now in the restaurant biz. Tinney's Tavern, Lake Desolation, Middle Grove. Check it out. I mean, it's a great spot in the summer, right by the water. Great spot in the winter. Snowmobiler, boom. Great. I had dinner up there on Tuesday night. Little soft opening, Tinney's Tavern. Really cool place. I mean, they've completely renovated it. It's got that tavern feel, but it's modern. Very, very cool. So congrats to them for that new venture. But Performance Industrial bringing us this segment each and every single week. All right, so Tom Brady says he regrets the roast, but what's done is done. And the reason he regrets the roast is the effect it has had on his kids. Comedians up there ripping him to shred, ripping their father to shreds, and then going after their mother as well. Like, yeah, we didn't see that coming. So the one joke Brady reacted to and shut it down was in regards to Robert Kraft. Nothing towards Brady directly, nothing towards his ex-wife or his ex-girlfriend, Bridget Moynihan. I mean, none of that. So he just kind of sat back and laughed with the rest of us, and that was that. And maybe we thought it was just all harmless fun, but apparently not. But a little bit of foresight here, right? Maybe don't let people just completely openly rip you apart if you think that may not go over so well at home. And what Giselle had the comment like, oh, once again, putting football over family. Tough. All right. So, Netflix need it. Peacock got to have it. Amazon, yep, Thursday night. Apple, not there yet, but I'm sure we will at some point. You need Max. You need HBO, right? Hard Knocks every single year. Jets last year, Giants this year, but a little bit of a twist. We're not going to get the training camp stuff, which is so good. All that is so good. But Giants ownership, and in particular, John Mara, was like, we're never doing this show. Now, it isn't always up to the team. The league can say you're doing it, and there are some stipulations like can't be a first-year head coach, can't be a first-year quarterback, and it's a team that didn't make the playoffs the year before. So it all adds up for the Giants here, and the way HBO gets into Big Blue's headquarters is by doing it in the offseason. So we're going to get a look at the Giants operation from January to June, which I think is interesting, actually. Everything we get has been during training camp, and then you get Hard Knocks in season, which, truthfully, I have not watched. Not that interested. If I'm way wrong, tell me that I should be watching it. The Colts did it. The Cardinals did it. I'm more into the preseason stuff. I think that's interesting. This will be, you're not going to get the on-field stuff. So how do they do 5 shows of this without any on-field stuff, really? A little bit of OTAs, rookie mini camp, that kind of stuff. But I will be very intrigued by the pre-draft process. Now, can I watch an hour of guys sitting around in a room rating players and talking about how I don't know. We'll find out. But free agency and the draft, that to me is going to be interesting stuff. July 2nd is when that debuts. So there's your Hard Knocks for the season. Caitlin Clark debut, 20 points. We'll break down her performance more specifically than just what the box score showed us. I'm sure many of you watched. I'll be interested to know how many of you watched and were interested in watching Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. LeBron courtside in Cleveland. Was he sending a message to both the Lakers and the Cavaliers? And which New York team has a better shot at reaching the finals? The Knicks in the NBA or the Rangers in the NHL? Another break here on Onorato and Miller. We are back in 30.
Get ready for the thrill of a lifetime with Tracker fishing boats. Available at Alpenhaus. Feel the rush as you reel in your trophy catch, supported by Tracker's unmatched stability. Prepare to conquer any challenge with cutting-edge tech at your fingertips and the freedom to explore without limits. Make waves this season and experience the ultimate fishing adventure with Tracker fishing boats at Alpenhaus. your source for fun since 1964.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alphen House.
Katie Osborne and Andy Heck, the great people at Alphen House, Amsterdam and Clifton Park. Go check them out, whatever you need. You need a boat, jet ski, pool, spa, just gear. You just need gear, skis. Looking to get a jump on the winter season? You do it all right there. We'll talk with Brendan Glasheen, who is in the building for this game. But just my quick thoughts here on Caitlin Clark. Unless she went for 35 points and was incredibly efficient and was draining threes from all over the place, this was going to be really tough to live up to the expectations the way she seemingly always did in college. And so I'm giving her a little bit of a pass here. Look, the most, disturbing number, is the 10 turnovers. Whoa. Just playing a little beyond herself, right? Out of control. Careless. Stuff that you get away with in college, not getting away with in the pros. So it's a quick learning process, I'm sure, for Caitlin Clark, but she did get it going a little bit in the second half of that game. So she finishes with 20 points, 5 of 15, I think 4 of 11 from 3. Again, only the 3 assists, not a single rebound, way too many turnovers. She was in foul trouble, all that stuff. But she gets the Liberty next. Fever, Liberty next for Caitlin Clark. It's still going. It's still worth the watch all season long. All season long. Did you see this LeBron James courtside game 4? Yeah, game 4, because the Celtics have a 3-1 lead on a Wednesday night here live on News Channel 13 social media. So LeBron rolls in with his wife. By the way, you see the hat she had on? I would be so ticked off if they sat right in front of me. LeBron at 6'8" is difficult enough to try to see around. But then the hat, it's middle of May. Cleveland, I get it. Can get a little chilly, but you're in a fashion statement, of course. But you're blocking my view. I paid good money for these seats. Anyway, LeBron courtside, and like that's not just, hey, we're home in Akron or Cleveland, let's pop in for a game. That's just that's not. This guy is around basketball all the time. You think he wants to watch more basketball in person? He could be at home on the couch with a glass of wine, which we know he likes to do. There was something to this. I'm not saying I know exactly what, but there was something to this. Like, hey, Cleveland, I'm considering coming back. Can you get my son? There's a message here. LeBron is always, always, always calculated with what he does. Speaking of the NBA, Knicks on the verge of the Eastern Conference Finals, and so are the Rangers on the verge of the Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Team more likely to get there, the Rangers. Because I think the Celtics are too difficult to get through in the East. I think the Knicks will close out the Pacers. It might take 7 games. And I think the Rangers will close out the Hurricanes, but that might take 7 games. Both game 6s are Indiana, Carolina, respectively. But I'll take the Rangers here just because I think they have a better shot of getting past first Carolina and then likely Florida, unless Boston makes a comeback. The Celtics feel like the team in the East, and we'll ask Brendan Glasheen if they are, in fact, the team in the NBA this year. He's around that team quite a bit, doing some of their in-studio halftime coverage. So I'll take the Rangers here, but I'll be honest. We've got Rangers fans in the building. I'm a little nervous for them. If that gets to a game 7, if Carolina wins at home game 6, which they should, if that gets to a game 7 and it's scoreless after 1, or Carolina gets an early first goal, that's what's going to happen. It's going to get airtight at the Garden. You know I'm a Devils fan, so I'm not saying I'm not rooting for that to happen, but it would make it interesting. All right, Brendan Glasheen, play-by-play man for everything. Every sport out there. You name it, he's probably done it. Does it at a high level. Connecticut Sun, Albany Firewolves, Maine Celtics. He was in the building Tuesday night for Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. He's our guest next here on Onorato Miller.
It's always a good time there. Doesn't matter where. It's always a good time there. Doesn't matter.
Play to win a 2024 Chevy Camaro convertible through June 29th. Celebrate 20 years of good times at Saratoga Casino Hotel.
Oh, wow, it's always a good time. Wow.
Learn more at SaratogaCasino.com.
To try, it's always a good time.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpin House.
People who watch the show or listen to the show know, because I use this analogy a lot. If you're giving an acceptance speech for something, you're going to start listing off a resume. Don't do it. You're going to forget something. You'll leave something out that you shouldn't. And so for our guest, I'm not even going to do it. I'll let him do it if he wants. But Brendan Glasheen, who's a play-by-play broadcaster for everything under the sun, play on words, meant to do it there. Every league you could imagine, from high school to college to pro. So we're lucky to have him on the show here this week because he's going to give us great perspective on being in the building for Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. A WNBA league now that is not just chartering flights, they're expanding, which is really exciting. So we'll kind of get a pulse on where the league is as he is so close to it. Aces go for a three-peat. New York Liberty, of course, always a hot ticket around the Albany area with Ionescu and Stewie. And obviously, he's the voice of the Albany Firewolves. So we want to get his take on the National Lacrosse League finals. Let's bring him into the conversation now on Onorato and Miller. BG, thanks for doing the show, man.
What an intro.
I have time for you to list how many leagues or teams you do play-by-play for, man, but pretty impressive. How are you, dude?
I'm great. That was very a humbling intro, Chris. That was well done, by the way, with the sun plug, the pun. That was good. That was very well done.
Sometimes I walk into them and I don't even mean it.
It's a great time of year. Like just
no doubt.
You're spoiled when you do so many games, and then you're in like you get to the winter and you're balancing one league and another league, and then one league ends and another one starts. But busy, like you guys get it. You and Ashley get it. Like this business, man, keeping busy is a good thing, even though there might be some crazy drives or travel. It can all, as we found out a few years ago, in a variety of ways, it can be stripped very quickly and unpredictably. So it's all good living.
All right, I'll ask you about this New York State NLL final in a second. But look, I watched the game on TV. It's different. You're there in person. Caitlin Clark scores 20 points, but it's not exactly efficient. She has foul trouble early on. Did she look like she belonged in the way that there may not be a steep learning curve?
I think so. I think so in the sense that her and the rest of this class, they're going to be fine. But I think she said this last night in her post game, the physicality amps up to a whole nother level than what she saw just a month ago in a Final Four and in a national championship game against South Carolina, against UConn, had to play Angel Reese again in Albany, as you're familiar with. But the physicality of the league is something she is going to learn the hard way in the early going. I heard you talking about the New York Liberty. That's who they get next. Then they play Vegas and Seattle. So you're playing the top four favorites to win the whole thing in 6 of your first 7 games as a pro. So the schedule for the W came out, the rough draft of it came out in December. So regardless of what she was going to end up doing as far as declaring for the draft or playing another year in college, the schedule was predetermined. Now, the TV windows, of course, changed based on Indiana getting the number 1 pick, et cetera. But when I saw the schedule, figuring Clark would declare, I'm like, that is a gauntlet. And not just elite teams, but elite defensive teams that have elite post players and length wings that can present a challenge. I think early in the game, I figured she's going to be more of a facilitator, try to get her teammates involved and take some pressure off. I watched a lot of her pregame warm-up.
Okay.
I think she knew this was a different kind of hype and expectation, which is crazy to say because she has carried that Iowa fan base now the last couple of years. Now you're on the national stage in a national league with the 140 best women's basketball players. And yeah, she was rattled. She was in early foul trouble. She started scoring the ball a little bit better in the third and fourth quarters. She had 10 turnovers, which was a new record for a player by a rookie in their first game in the league. I think the previous mark was 9. She had 10. So she had some struggles in the game.
Why
but they'll be fine. They'll figure it out.
Why the 10 turnovers? Is that nerves? Is it physicality like you talked about? Is it the speed of the game?
I think it's all three of those things, like entry passes into the post when you're playing just bigger players, lengthier players. Yeah. She had a few circumstances where she's getting clogged trying to drive to the basket, dribble the ball off her foot. She traveled a couple times. They do call travels in the WNBA. They don't call them as much in the NBA. They do call the travel in the W. So the fundamentals are they're honed in more, I think, in the W. But all three of those things, speed of the game, but more so, I think, the physicality. So not just like, I think when people think physicality, they think, oh, there's bumping and bruising, and she's more of a perimeter player. So folks might not like put those two things together. A perimeter player who creates separation, can knock down an outside shot. Well, a lot of the way she creates her jumper is because they have to respect that she can drive to the basket too. So like I said, third and fourth quarter, she was getting separation, and she did so in the preseason as well. And she's got a deadly shot. So if she gets separation, she can knock down the shot. But foul trouble early, and I think she was 0 for her first 5 or 6 from the floor. So, but she was trying to get to the basket, and with the intention at times that she had a nifty behind-the-back pass into Aaliyah Boston, Alyssa Smith. That's the post tandem Indiana has. So they got to get Aaliyah Boston more involved. She was involved in the first few possessions of the game, but she'll figure it out. Like I think the way Caitlin's carried herself through all of this, she's received love, she's received hate. She understands signing a huge shoe deal, being a part of this influx of talent from the college level. They're going to be okay. But these first couple weeks, not an easy draw for Indiana in their schedule.
Voice of the Connecticut Sun. First, heard this on the broadcast last night. First home opener sellout since 2003. What did it feel like in the building?
It was amazing. It was amazing. The line to get into the arena. I was there all day. So I went and did some radio in the morning with some of the guys in Boston, went to shoot around. I figured, hey, let's just get there early because I wasn't really sure what to expect as far as just the floodgates of opening with people everywhere. And with about 2.5 hours before tip, it was a 7:30 tip. It's around 5 o'clock. And the gates don't open until 6 for fans. And the line at 4:30, 5 o'clock was all the way down through the other wing of the casino. It was something, man. It was incredible. And then the pregame hype was really cool. Anytime that the Fever came out of the tunnel just to do their pregame warm-up, they'll do a warm-up. You see this in the NLL too, right? Like any pro sport. You'll go out, do your warm-up, okay, or X time on the clock. You head out back. Maybe you have a snack. You get stretched out. Then you go back out again. There's just a lot of build-up in part of the routine of warming up before a game. But every time the Fever came out of the tunnel, there was an eruption. There was a ton of Iowa jerseys. I couldn't believe, and I believe it, but like just seeing it and actually witnessing it was what I couldn't believe was the amount of media, local media from Iowa and Indiana that attended this game. That's massive for the league. Like you get it, TV news stations putting together a budget,
right? Travel,
all of it, hotel, like. We got to get our people out here to cover this. So it was a great night for the league, a great opening night. Even though it wasn't the result, I think folks thought like Clark would go off and score 30. I think it was still a powerful night and a night she probably would want to forget based on some of the history I just spoke of with the turnovers, but it was pretty cool. And like I said, I think Caitlin Clark's going to be fine. She's handled this pretty well. I don't think she needs, to a degree, like. I think they need protecting, like the chartered flights are going to protect players in theory without being in airports and getting, not harassed necessarily, but just getting bothered by people, which is all great. These are all great things in theory, like the attention on the sport. But it was cool. It was cool to be there.
So you just hit it. And like, look, we will lazily just give Clark credit for all of this that's happening. It's not like just all of a sudden we've got to charter flights and all of a sudden we want to put a franchise in San Francisco and Toronto. But like, if you could, being around the league, speak to the growth of this league that is not just built on the back of Caitlin Clark. Talking about, heard the commissioner say, want 4 more teams over the next 4 years, getting back up to the number where they were in 2010, I believe. So this has been coming. Clark helps, but this has been coming, right?
The revenue in the league has gone up the last 4 years. Going back 4 years I've been in the league, I think 2019 might actually be the right mark where the revenue has improved throughout the league. And these players have made mention. They don't want to make the same amount of money as NBA players. They want the same revenue sharing as the NBA guys. That's all they're getting at. Like getting a cut of a jersey sale, for instance, is something that comes up. And then bridging, and Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, has talked about this, trying to bridge the college season that ends in the first week of April. You have your draft, and then just a month later, you don't see that in any other league, where a month later you're playing WNBA games for first timers, which last night was the case for Clark. Also coming to mind here, Aaliyah Edwards played out of UConn. She played last night for Washington against the New York Liberty. We're going to see a few more rookies play in their first games on Wednesday night.
Yep.
I think the importance, and I think folks have to remember, Chris, if you remember back when we were just coming out of the pandemic and then we had the bubble March Madness, and there was like TikToks and Instagram reels like going viral of the lack of resources being provided to women for how their facilities looked, like some of these bubble sites that were designed, like the lack of seating, the lack of, just like food and drink,
right?
Like, remember that, like locker room access, and that's when, going back 3 or 4 years now, where there was kind of an outrage of like, and this is the big one, putting the games on television at the college level. So Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, go right down the list. They capitalized on it, and we saw it. We just witnessed an all-time great, maybe the greatest scorer ever in women's college basketball. But had it not been for those previous few years, for example, just getting a Pac-12 title game should be on ESPN, ABC, and not hidden on the Pac-12 network. I'm talking like a conference tournament game, like big games where you can promote stars and NIL, endorsements, sponsorships, etc. So getting the games on television allowed people to have access, sit down, and find the game. And that was a real issue, is people couldn't find games. So Clark's a big part of that, but they capitalized on it, and she just took it and ran with it, and she's a huge part of it. But getting that was a few years before we knew who she was. But people got to the TV because the games were on TV, and that's what made it recognizable. That was a big part of it, I think.
This will sound stupid, but I think it's half true, that because there are more stars in the women's game now than ever, right? Like, but you can find Juju Watkins more easily than you could have, to your point.
Fox just promoted yesterday. I saw they just promoted Juju against Paige Beckers in December. They had like a graphic of Tom Brady's first Fox game, I think it was 2 or 3 marquee college games with Georgia playing
Texas, Michigan.
Yeah, like big marquee programs in college football. Oh, and look, there's Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins on a graphic like that. That wasn't happening 2 or 3 years ago. No chance, right? So sorry to interrupt, but that's like that's moving the needle. That's kind of what you're getting at, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. So Golden State gets a franchise.
Yeah,
we think Toronto's next. It's like a poorly kept secret around the league, right? And then, like I said, the commissioner, maybe a couple more. All right, Ace is going for a 3-peat. That's a big deal. I don't want to completely bury that, but I don't want to take up all your time here. You're around the Boston Celtics. You do play-by-play for the main Celtics, but you're around the Boston Celtics as well. I see the logo right behind you.
Try to keep it decorated here, Chris.
This has to be the year, right? Celtics fans must be thinking, if it isn't this year, my goodness, when is it coming?
I think we're reminded when guys like Jordan and LeBron and Giannis and Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry, they all won their first championship around year 8, year 9, and Tatum and Brown are in years 6 and 7. I think I have that right, respectively. Yeah. So it feels about their time. They were in the finals 2 years ago, and their road was Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving older brothers, if you will. Kyrie was a Celtic just 4 or 5 years ago. You sweep them, but it was a competitive 4-game sweep. It wasn't a gentleman's sweep. It was a legit 4-game sweep, but every game was close.
Yep.
Then you go to Milwaukee. You're down 3-2. Tatum goes for 47, 48 to force a game 7. Then you play Miami, which at the time, Butler's younger. Some of their other key role guys were still ascending. And Miami that year was the 1 seed, so you didn't have home court, which I don't know if home court means much to the Boston Celtics these days.
It's a heck of
and then you run into an all-time great and an all-time team in Golden State, and that was kind of their last kick at the can. At least that's what it feels like right now. So seeing that path and now comparing it to this year's path where the East is banged up, every star player on every team is hurt, or there's a secondary star who's hurt or down. It's all setting up. Donovan Mitchell's hurt. Joel Embiid, Giannis, Butler. I mean, go right down the line. So feels like it. Now, what happens if they run into Denver or run into Minnesota if they make, they get back in that series and tie the series up? I don't know. Denver's pretty legit, but I would remind people, everyone thought Denver, Mike Malone's been there for almost a decade, and they hadn't won a thing until last year.
Right.
And look how Denver got through the playoffs last year. They played play-in teams. They ran into a tired Miami team in the finals, and that's no disrespect. Miami had a great run last year. You beat Milwaukee in the first round. You beat Boston. The Celtics almost come back, but they hold them off and win Game 7 in blowout fashion. And so, yeah, I think I'm guilty of this too, because we're itching to see Tatum and Brown take that next step. But since they've both been in the league, they've been on winning teams and they've reached new heights every year. Like Jaylen Brown was like the 8th man on the Isaiah Thomas. The folks around here call them the Bridgies, the Bridgie Celtics, with like Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder, and Isaiah Thomas goes for like 50 in a playoff game against Washington. So they grew right into a winning culture, and they almost get penalized for getting deep to conference finals, to a finals a few years ago, where some of these other stars, they may have had first round exits or they didn't get to a conference finals. So it's almost like it's the same argument with quarterbacks, or like LeBron, like when Tom Brady loses a Super Bowl, or LeBron everyone reflects on LeBron's record in the championship. Well, now we're getting him in trouble for getting to that deep part of the playoffs, and everyone has their eyeballs on you. So the way, just in conclusion, the way they've played this year, you get Porzingis, you get Drew Holiday. It's been more of a collective feel. Mm-hmm. You don't need Tatum to go get you 40 or 50 like we're seeing from Jalen Brunson or Luka or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But then there are moments in these games where I feel Tatum puts this pressure on himself, like, well, I want to be in that same conversation. Oh, I was voted 5th in MVP. Well, I can go out there and prove it. But I think he's trying to walk that line of, if we play team basketball, we're really hard to beat. So I think this is the year. They should get to the finals. Tom Thibodeau something changed. I mean, it seems his MO is he gets guys they get pretty tired, but the Knicks showed something. That goes 7. You get more rest advantage if the Celtics handled their business in Game 5. Mitchell's out in Game 5. If you run into Denver, that should be a great series. And Minnesota, Anthony Edwards, he's been the talk of the town in the NBA. The Jordan talk with him, the Dwayne Wade comparisons. 22 years old, winning program. What happens? No, Anthony Edwards isn't getting the same sort of criticism as Jason Tatum, because the Wolves know we need Anthony Edwards to be the dude every night, whereas Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown don't necessarily have to be, because their supporting cast, their starting 5, is arguably the best in the league.
We deserve Celtics Knicks and then Celtics Nuggets. Those are the 2 best potential series down the line remaining, in my opinion, in this postseason.
I would agree.
NLL final, man. Defending champs Buffalo, the team you called games for all year long, the Albany Firewolves, out of nowhere. Look, I joked with Clem last week. I said 5-6 weeks ago, people had buried them. They'd lost 4 and then 5 in a row. This was fun, but they're young. It's not going to work out. They'll make the playoffs, of course, but if they get bounced in the first round, nobody's going to be shocked. Haven't lost a game, given up 25 goals in the 3 games. I mean, I don't know. How do you handicap this one for us, this series? Best of 3.
When they went through that rut I know talking to Glenn Clark, who you've had on your show, and
Coach of the year, GM of the year.
GM of the year, we found that out, which is well-deserved. I think he's only the 5th person in league history to capture both in the same season, that's a pretty elite company.
Yeah.
And Paul Day did that a few years ago, and Derek Keenan, who's a very good friend of Glenn Clark, and you think to
do it.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. So only 4. I sold him short. But when they went through their rut, I think folks were thinking, oh, is this team reading? I'm just trying to get a sense of what maybe like the national lacrosse league outlook of it. Oh, are they getting like cocky? Are they reading their press clippings? I think they felt internal pressure, the players. Oh, we're good now. We have to be this good. We've set a standard by beating Buffalo early in the year. We beat Halifax early in the year, went on the road and throttled Georgia, who gave Buffalo a really hard time in that quarterfinal round. So it wasn't so much of reading press clippings like, oh, like we're fine, like getting ahead of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so like, oh, we got to lock up the home for 3 or 4 weeks. They were trying to lock up a home playoff game, and they finally did it in that last game of the season against New York. But it's very similar, I think, to what they did against Halifax and San Diego. They're the nagging younger brother who just doesn't stop playing, and they use their speed to their advantage. Their quickness can be troublesome. The difference, though, in this series, I think, is Buffalo's team and their stars on both ends of the floor, outside of the goaltender. Matt Vince is an older dude. But Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, Fraser, Nanticoke, those guys are all in basically the primes of their careers. They're not older players like the Dixons and the Dobies in San Diego or Benesh and Jameson in Halifax. This is kind of like their time. And I'm glad we just did NBA Finals and NBA talk, because Buffalo was in that sort of mode of like, you don't want to be like the Bills in your own hometown. You keep getting to the conference final. You get to a final. You lost 2 finals in a row. And then all of a sudden, the minute you get over the top and you get that chip, and you feel invincible. And that is how they played against Georgia in the quarterfinal round. They go out, take a massive lead against Toronto in game 1. And for Toronto, and I think we found this out throughout the year, Toronto was at their best, and a lot of teams are at their best. When you get out to a pretty sizable lead, you can just manage the game. You don't have to do anything sexy. Just let's manage this thing for 60 minutes. And then you have a scenario like game 2 in Buffalo where they're down 8-4, and it's an absolute rampage. They're winning draws. They're explosive on offense. Their weapons, their size. So it's a bit different, but as you find out, if you get elite goaltending, which Doug Jamieson is on a heater, you've got a shot any night. So I'm sure, I think Buffalo takes it to heart that Albany beat him twice in the regular season. But this is going to come down to, I think the key to the series is if Albany can get to that 12 or 13 goal mark and hang around. Well, like Doug's going to play his game, but you're doing your job, I think, if you let Buffalo score 11 or 12. Like that's right around like, okay, that's respectable against that kind of team. So if they can win a game 12-11, 13-11, 12-10, like that's kind of the sweet spot for them. But they will give it to them. I think it's going to be a good series. I do. I don't think they're going to back down. Like it is that like David versus Goliath mentality. No one's given us a shot. Quite a path if they pull this off. Halifax, San Diego, Buffalo to go through those 3. So we'll see. But I think their speed and like the way, like I think you remember this, like when they closed out game 2, Alex Simmons, who's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. This will not show up in the stat sheet. It probably won't even make highlight reels when they're promoting these finals. There was a play at the end of game 2 against San Diego where he is just trying to work clock and play keep away from San Diego. And he's got 3 big guys on their defense just coming at him. And Simmons had a great quote after the game, like, those are the kinds of winning habits you have to have in games like that to win. Everyone wants to score goals. Everyone wants to score points and put up big numbers, which he did in some of those games. The game 1 in San Diego where he had the best scoring game for a rookie in a playoff game since John Tavares in 92, which is pretty incredible.
10 points,
They've just played very team oriented, and that's what makes them scary. Is they're not a predictable bunch. And for Buffalo, when Smith and Byrne are going, they're tough, but their supporting cast is damn good. Kluche, Fraser, Nanakoke. That's not a bad back end of an offense. That's for sure. So
Simmons, a Cuse guy, kind of. Brendan Glasheen guy, Cuse guy, all the way. Dude, thank you, man. This was fun. Great insights from Caitlin Clark to the Boston Celtics to the National Lacrosse League and the Albany Firewolves, man. Appreciate it. Safe travels everywhere you dot the map, and I know we'll catch up soon.
sounds good. I think we covered everything. Thanks for having me on.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on. For cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair, you can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
Get ready for the thrill of a lifetime with Tracker fishing boats, available at Alpenhaus. Feel the rush as you reel in your trophy catch, supported by Tracker's unmatched stability. Prepare to conquer any challenge with cutting-edge tech at your fingertips and the freedom to explore without limits. Make waves this season and experience the ultimate fishing adventure with Tracker fishing boats at Alpenhaus. Your source for fun since 1964.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Good of our guy, Brendan Glasheen, to hang out with us for a little bit. One note on Caitlin Clark's debut, record number for WNBA game on ESPN platforms, 2.3 million viewers, the growth of women's sports. Speaking of, Anna Gold is an absolute monster for Duke softball, and they are headed back to the NCAA regionals. Our conversation with the Ballston Spa grad, Anna Gold, next here on Onorato and Miller.
Better way to jumpstart the season than with a month-long event here at Alpenhaus RV. Start making memories today. Stop in during our camping season kickoff sales event and make this a summer you won't forget. Visit us online at alpenhausrv.com or in Amsterdam and Saratoga.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through product and purpose. Claim your crown.
Play to win a 2024 Chevy Camaro convertible through June 29th. Celebrate 20 years of good times at Saratoga Casino Hotel. Learn more at saratogacasino.com.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpenhaus.
Welcome back to Onorato and Miller. You heard our first guest, Brendan Glasheen, say best time of year, and it is, because you think like the convergence of pro sports with playoffs and baseball, but we're into NCAA tournament time now with both college baseball and softball, the regionals. And for the second time in program history, only the second time in program history, Duke softball, ACC champs, and leading the way is a Ballston Spa grad, Anna Gold, who is the program's all-time home run leader, and she's our guest here on Onorato and Miller. Anna, it's Chris in Albany. Thanks for doing the show. How are you?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good, getting ready for the weekend. We're hosting regionals here at Duke, so it's exciting. Exciting time.
Really cool. You guys exact a little bit of revenge on Florida State, right, to win the ACC title this year. How sweet was that?
Yeah, it was awesome. Every year it's kind of like a battle between us and Florida State at the top of the ACC, but this year we just showed them that we're the best team in the ACC. And then also winning regular season ACC championship for the first time in program history. So pretty good year for us.
All right, we'll dive into more about how the season has gone and how your great career has already gone here. But people certainly in the 518 know your brother, Luke, your brother, Joe, both really good baseball players. But if they could steal one aspect of your game, what would it be? What do they wish they could do as well as you on the field?
I might have to say speed. and just like agility, moving side to side.
Okay.
That might be it.
You're an ACC honor roll student, as a student athlete that travels the country. Where's the strangest place you found yourself doing homework or writing a paper?
Ooh. There was actually one time this year, it was in Florida, when we just got done with the game and I had a paper due at like 11:59 that night. And it was like 10:30 after our game. And I was just sitting in the lobby doing my homework in my uniform still. So that was funny. And then
Everybody thinks it's glorious, right? Everybody thinks it's glorious.
Yeah.
You're a record holder here. I mean, as a freshman, you hit 10 long balls, and that was a program record. And now you've got the all-time mark. What does that mean to you to know that in this program history, which is, I know I said, 2 ACC titles, but Duke is always a power, and you've got this record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool honor. I wouldn't say that it's like one of my main goals, but I've always kind of been a power hitter, and just seeing everything come into fruition and all my hard work paying off, it's very rewarding, that's for sure.
And obviously this has got to be the big reward, right? To be able to host regionals this weekend here. The other teams coming to Duke, Morgan State, South Carolina, Utah. What is the challenge ahead here? You've been to the tournament, you've been to regionals before. What's the challenge ahead here for you guys?
Yeah, I think definitely just staying within ourselves and just playing our game, not playing to the name on the other team's uniform. Just making sure that we go out every game looking to dominate and just not backing down. If the team throws punches at us, we're going to throw punches right back.
What's different about this year's squad? Why have you got, I think, 47-6 I wrote down. I mean, insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think we just have so much resilience, and we just have like unwavering trust and confidence, not only in ourselves, but in each other. So, I know that if I don't do my job, that someone else on my team will. And we never give up. We've had so many games this year where we've been behind late in the game, but we just come back. We just have that fight in us.
I want to shout this out too. Duke.nil.store.
Yeah.
And then you hit a backslash in a collections and you find Anna Gold's name, t-shirts, sweatshirts, a jersey. I mean, what has that whole experience been like for you? The idea of NIL and being able to do camps, maybe in the off season, that type of stuff where you can actually earn a little bit of money.
Yeah, it's so helpful, not being able to have like a regular job and have like an actual source of income, just using that like my platform on social media as a way to make some money has been really helpful. And then also with like the jerseys and the shirts, like looking out and seeing like fans in the stands wearing my number and my jersey, it's so awesome. It's just so inspirational, and knowing that they're just rooting for me and rooting for our team, it's so cool.
And your name, which is really what stands out different here. Like back in the day, you could buy a jersey that just had the number, but not the name attached to it. And you're a Mizuno athlete as well. I've seen the Mizuno Mondays. Follow Anna on Instagram right there. Best way to do it on your screen. How did that come together, and why Mizuno for you?
Yeah, so I think it was last year in like May, I was on like the mark of hitting the single season home run record for Duke, and I had one of the Mizuno reps reach out to me, and they were just like, hey, we'd love for you to be a part of our team and represent our brand. And it was kind of just a no-brainer for me to say yes, just because Mizuno softball has been around for so long, and they just have such high quality products and just a company that you can trust. And yeah, when they reached out to me, it was like, yes, of course I will do that.
I would guess your parents were at the title game. What has this whole ride been like for them? 3 kids doing as well as they are on the diamond.
Yeah, I mean, it means everything in the world for my parents to be able to come to as many games as they do. Just them like sacrificing so much for me to be here, and also just splitting their time between their 3 kids. It's incredible, really. But yeah, I looked up after I hit, it was an RBI single to tie the game against FSU. And I looked up at the stands and my dad, and it was such a cool moment because, he's been like my hitting coach ever since I started playing softball. So that was just a really awesome moment.
You're a junior, so you've got another year to go. But do you think about the opportunities after Duke? I mean, I know obviously players get drafted into Athletes Unlimited. Do you think beyond Duke and national team or playing with Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I would love to do someday, if the opportunity comes around. It's just going to depend on, some of my performance, but I'm just going to, be the best that I can. And if those opportunities arise, then I'm definitely going to, accept them and just do what I can. But yeah, softball is just such a big part of me. And I don't think I'll be ready to let go of it after I graduate next year.
No, you shouldn't. I saw the announced attendance, I think, for that ACC title game was 2,300 people or something like that. I mean, that's a really good crowd. And I'm just curious, like we've talked so much. We had Caitlin Clark here in Albany for the NCAA tournament. I'm just like, from your perspective, growing up, playing sports, and always being as good as you were, right? There was probably a decent amount of attention on you. But now maybe can you compare it to like the attention that women's sports are getting nationally?
Yeah, I think it's amazing just to see how much, viewership and just fan bases have grown in women's sports. And I do believe that it's going to continue to grow in the future. But I remember like my freshman year, like we were still a top 25 team, but we didn't have nearly as many fans as we do this year. And it's just so cool to see how our fan base has grown. But yeah, I hope one day that there's some sort of MLB for softball. Because, there are pro teams, but still not at the level of the MLB. But hopefully one day.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's easy for me to say it's not my money I'd be spending somebody else's money. But like, really, why not? I mean, it would be easy enough to do. And honestly, they could follow. There's this thing called the Premier Lacrosse League where you could just follow that model where the whole league travels city to city. It's like a barnstorming tour almost. So you don't need to have each home city with its own stadium necessarily. You travel weekend to weekend to weekend, and you're not talking about worrying about an initial investment maybe. But now's the time to strike on something like this in women's sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Really cool. Second ACC title, program history, beating Florida State at 47-6 this year, an incredible year, and already the program's all-time home run leader as a junior. Anna, thank you so much. Game on Friday, I know, for Duke. That regional, again, here it is with Morgan State, South Carolina, and Utah going to Duke. Thanks for doing the show. Best of luck, not just in the regionals, but beyond that, as I know you will get past, and I hope we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
I'm Jeff Ukelek. I'm owner of Bevs, and we're a beverage center in upstate New York. You're just gonna have that wow component when you come in, like, wow, look at this place. It's bright, it's clean, it has everything that I need. Consumer is king. Be able to provide them a friendly environment and a place to shop, no matter where they are, whether they're down here in Saratoga or whether they're up in Queensbury. You're always gonna get the same experience when you shop at Bevs. At the end of the day, if you walk in these stores, you're gonna see a lot of people that have a lot of pride.
And now, back to Onorato and Miller. Sponsored by Alpen House.
Shout out to Anna Gold for joining us here on Onorato and Miller to wrap things up. Fun show. Two great guests. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Always good to have you part of things here. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate the local business support we get each and every single week here on Onorato and Miller. Enjoy the games this weekend. PGA Championship in golf, which we didn't get to. Fire Wolves will play for an NLL title Friday and Saturday night. A lot of good stuff. Be well, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching Onorato and Miller.